Two very different devices, but two devices with the same goal in mind. Get off your phone and live your life. So recently I've been testing these two devices, the Mudita Kompakt and the Minimalist MP01. Now, these are drastically different companies and drastically different methodologies on how to approach the problem of smartphone addiction and just getting off your device and living your life a bit more. Both of these devices have, of course, different approaches, different design aesthetics, and different methodologies on how we should be using our devices. One device leans more towards smartphone functionality, while the other leans more towards a dumb phone functionality. But I want to take a look at the different elements and the differences that I've experienced using these two devices over the past couple months. Now, looking at these two devices, there is a clear difference on size. And using these devices, I can confirm one is definitely more comfortable to just slide in a pocket. And obviously you can see the Mudita Kompakt is the smaller device. If you're somebody who is a small phone fan, I know a lot of you out there love smaller devices. This device is great for just slipping in the pocket and going on your way. Especially for women, it fits in women's pockets much easier. If you have men's pockets, you can kind of use either of these devices. They both will fit in a man's pocket. But as far as the size is concerned, this could be an issue for some people. Some people need a larger screen. I know for myself, I am visually impaired, and it really depends on what you plan on using your device for. If you're looking to compare these devices to replace an e-reader, I'm guessing you would probably prefer the Minimalist MP01 to read books on. I have tried reading on both of these devices, and personally, I don't like reading on either of them. They're both a bit too small for me, but if I need to quickly look at a document, or if I'm reading text for long messages or even SMS messages, I find that one device is a little bit more comfortable, and this comes down to the factor of the technology behind it. Now, the Mudita Kompakt uses an e-ink display, whereas the Minimalist MP01 is using e-paper. Many of you might say, well, that's the same thing. Yes and no. E-ink is the name proprietary brand of an e-paper technology, but it is the cutting edge of that technology. E-ink devices are a little bit more expensive, and you're paying for that premium experience. You're paying for crisper, clearer text on a device that is optimized, and honestly, there is a difference. Especially if you're somebody who is visually impaired or staring at screens for a long time, you will feel a difference for extended periods. But if you're planning to use this device minimally, I think you can get by with either one. It's not a big issue. Now, as far as the design goes, you can obviously see both of these devices took a drastically different route. Mudita Kompakt really went for a small phone design that is just designed to go in your pocket and live your life. Whereas the Minimalist has a physical QWERTY keyboard. For those of us who are BlackBerry fanatics, this is something that's constantly demanded in the community. A lot of people want a physical keyboard. And after trying both devices, I can see the pluses and minuses of having a physical keyboard versus just having a smaller device. If I'm looking to spend less time on my device, I'd rather not have a keyboard. If I have a keyboard, I am enticed to type on it. I'm somebody who likes typing short stories, notes, and just touching physical keys. Being visually impaired, having keys is super advantageous as well to create shortcuts and to be able to do things without relying on visual cues. So there is definitely an advantage to having a keyboard, but again, it depends on your use case on how you want to use your device. Now, besides the design itself, there is a clear difference in build quality. Minimalist is a new company, and you can feel with this device that it is the first generation of devices. Hopefully they'll have some in the future. If you were to go back and feel Mudita's first devices, I'm sure you'd have a similar experience. The build quality is different. It does feel a bit more premium and sturdy to hold the Mudita Kompakt. Not only the materials, but the device itself just feels like a lot of design and thought went into it. From the rounded corners, from the weight distribution, the screen, it just feels like it is a really well thought out device. The minimal phone does have some design elements, but it feels like the major focus, of course, was on the QWERTY keyboard, which does feel very good. Compared to other BlackBerry devices that I have, I would put it in the middle of the road. But outside of the keyboard, the device feels a little bit cheaper. The back feels like you can push into it, and it does feel very plasticky. It feels lighter, I guess, for this reason, compared maybe to the Mudita Kompakt, but it doesn't feel as premium or sturdy. For example, if you're going to be somebody who drops their device a lot, I would be a bit careful and probably put a case on it. When it comes down to the operating system, both of these devices took drastically different roads. The Mudita Kompakt has their own operating system, which is based on Android, of course, but it's called the Mudita OSK. Whereas the minimal phone MP01 is using Android 14. Now you might think there's not much of a difference, but there's a big difference when it comes to privacy and security. Mudita is a de-Googled phone and it is very privacy focused. So if you're somebody who's looking at not having Google scrape your information all the time, I would lean more towards Mudita Kompakt for that reason. But if you're somebody who's looking to have friction in your life but still have access to all of your apps more or less seamlessly, maybe having an Android device that is an e-paper device is enough friction for you. A lot of people need specific applications and don't want to faff about with side-loading specific apps. If that's the case, the minimal phone could be a better option for you. When it comes down to cameras, you're not going to take professional photography on either of these devices. I think the cameras are okay at best. They look very retro. It gives very reminiscence of photos from 15 to 20 years ago, for example. The only thing that I find that is a big advantage with the minimal phone is that it has a front-facing camera. Not for selfies or even for video calls, but I find with verification apps, especially banking apps, having a front-facing camera saves a lot of time. You can easily verify your apps, verify your identity, and it's honestly something that did save me a lot of time when using this device daily. Now, one of the biggest differences I've noticed with these devices is the battery life. When you think of e-ink or e-paper, you think of a device that lasts a long time, like a Kindle. Now, when you put data in a device, and especially carrier data and using cell bands, this greatly impacts the battery life and can vary among carriers, for example. But comparing these two devices on the same carrier that I use every day in France, I noticed a vastly different experience. With the Mudita Kompakt on their website, it says it gets up to 6 days. I was able, by optimizing with their offline plus switch, to switch off all of the connections and everything associated with using power consumption, rather than just using airplane mode. I was able to get a week and a half max out of this device. And I think if I really stretched it and really didn't use the phone or anything, I could probably almost go 2 weeks if I was crazy enough. This is great if you're somebody who's traveling a lot, won't have access to charge as often, and really motivates you to kind of push your limits of not using your device just to see how long the battery can last. Whereas when I was using the minimal phone, the first day I didn't get much battery life because it does take a lot of battery, of course, to set up the device. Globally, I would get about a day and a half, 2 days maybe. I did push myself to use the device as minimal as possible, and I got up to 3 days, which is what their website specifies. So nothing crazy, nothing unexpected, just exactly what it says. But to get that 3 days, I really had to reduce my consumption. I only had necessary apps, no additional apps running in the background, and I de-Googled my phone pretty much completely and only using open source applications. Now, when it comes down to it, which phone is better? I think these phones are designed for two different people. So if you're somebody who really wants to use your device less but doesn't want to compromise on apps that you're using, the minimal phone might be for you. Whereas the Mudita Kompakt can work for a lot of people, especially if you're willing to sideload specific apps that you absolutely need, like WhatsApp. I find for myself, the Mudita Kompakt just fits in my life a little bit easier. It's really, for me, a digital minimalist device. I'm able to completely disconnect, and I notice that my relationship with my phone greatly improves when I use the specific device. I find that the minimal phone, as it is today, is just not a finished product. For example, I've had some technical issues with the device that I did not have with the Mudita Kompakt, which I would consider a fully finished functioning device. The minimal phone does have some software bugs here or there. The majority of the big glitchy bugs I think have been addressed, but I have had issues with my fingerprint scanner on multiple occasions, and I have a lot of random starts and restarts of the device that I find a bit annoying and frustrating when I need my device in a specific time. So globally speaking, which device is better than the other device? Again, it's up to how you want to use your device. If you're somebody who really wants a keyboard and wants that specific experience, the minimal phone is great. I honestly think for the price, it's not a bad device. I'm again going to preface that it's not a finished, fully perfect, polished device. So if you're somebody who can be patient with those bugs until they get ironed out, the device will work perfectly fine. If you're somebody, on the other hand, who may have a more extreme addiction to your phone, you may not have that impulse control like myself. I don't have the willpower to stop being addicted. Sometimes I need something a little bit stronger, and that's where the Mudita Kompakt comes in for me. I am able to sideload WhatsApp, which is a non-negotiable app at this point in my life. I need it for communication, and I'm able to sideload it onto the Kompakt. I'm also able to add apps like MP Photos, so I can take photos and share them on my other devices. And honestly, what's great about it is that I can hide those apps if I don't need them at that specific time to keep the interface quite clean and clear. From an accessibility perspective, these devices are alright. They could be better, both of them. There's not enough accessibility settings, I find, for either of them. And sometimes when you turn the accessibility settings on, it prevents you from accessing your device altogether. For example, the minimal phone. I ran into issues in my live stream when I unboxed the device, making the text larger wasn't permitting me to enter my code to enter my device, which you will need to use if the fingerprint sensor stops working. Just keep this in mind that certain accessibility settings may impede use cases given the device. Overall, I love both of these devices. I don't use either of them today as my daily driver. I currently use the Mudita Kompakt primarily as a weekend phone and a really reset phone for myself when I feel that my digital addiction gets to be too extreme. Currently not using the minimal phone because of so many technical issues, and I was just plain frustrated. I'm going to wait for further updates to see if the phone will be more usable as a daily driver. I would like to thank all of the channel members, and again, thank you all so much for watching, and see you soon.